Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane, and I am the director of the Ashland Public Library in Massachusetts. And I am absolutely thrilled to be here with Ilona and Gordon Andrews and Jeaniene Frost. And we're going to be having this massively interesting conversation about their books and their writing and all of that. I just want to, before we get to that, though, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the Friends of the Ashland Library who support all of our programming. And also, I just wanted to say that you can buy signed books from Jeaniene and Ilona and Gordon from Blue Willow Bookshop, right? In Houston. Yes. And I will put a link in the chat for that. And you can buy their current books, you can pre-order books, and you can buy their backlists through that link. And you know, signed books are gold, and that's all a librarian needs to say. I'm just going to really quick introduction of Ilona and Jeaniene, some things that I thought were really interesting, things like Jeaniene, we're celebrating her book birthday for The Other Half of the Grave, which is, oh my God. That's right. We will talk a lot about it, but we're celebrating that. If you have some cake, please eat. Nobody's going to judge you. But I thought she was really interesting because she is afraid of airplanes, children, and cookbooks. Apparently not vampires, which is awesome. And Ilona and Gordon have been, as you know, need no introduction, husband and wife writing team. They have co-authored many books that we love. And I read, because I got an arc of Ruby Fever, and oh my gosh, I'm fangirling just as you are. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ilona and Jeaniene, Ilona, Gordon, and Jeaniene, to talk about their most current books or anything you want to talk about. Welcome.
You two start.
Well, you start. We don't have any book talk. You got the book talk.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, apologies to everyone, because we will fight like this probably through the whole thing. Friendly fighting, not real fighting. And if you have small, impressionable children in the room, you might want to turn on their favorite TV show in the other room, because there will probably be bad language at some point. I try not to, but it happens.
Mm-hmm. Also, can I just say one more thing, Jeaniene? I'm sorry. We are in webinar mode, so we won't see you or hear you, people in the audience, but feel free to put questions in the Q&A and keep doing what you're doing in the chat, but questions in the Q&A, otherwise I will not be able to manage them. Thank you, sorry. Go ahead. Jeaniene, small children out of the room.
Yeah. Okay. Seriously, you guys go first. Ilona, Gordon, come on.
Okay, I'll start. Jeaniene,
Thank
I heard
you.
you have a book coming out. Tell me about the book that's coming out.
Oh my
What is
God.
this wonderful book that just came out, and then he's so
Is this
high on
your first book?
Is it your first book?
Is this your
Oh
first
my
book?
God. You two are terrible. No, this is not my first book. I don't even know what number this is. 20 something maybe. For novels, 20 something, for just including other things, 30 maybe. I don't know. But okay. All right. If I'm doing an intro, so I am the author of the Night Huntress series, the Night Prince series, the Night Rebel series, the Broken Destiny series, and a couple other things. And most people, though, know me basically by my characters Cat and Bones, Lad and Layla, Ian and Veritas, Ivy and Adrian. And the book that they're talking about, I should pull it out, I guess.
You should.
I'm good. I'm glad I wore pants.
There you go.
It's like, are you gonna sit there like in just like your shorts because you can? I said no. So this is the book they're talking about, The Other Half of the Grave, and it's actually a retelling of my very first novel, Halfway to the Grave. That book I had told exclusively from my heroine's point of view, and this one, my hero finally gets to tell his side of the story on it. But enough about me. And over to you.
When was the original of that book published?
Oh my God, you guys are relentless. You have to talk about yourselves.
We talk about ourselves
all the time. Yeah,
okay, all right. This is happening, or I'm just going to start saying random facts about the two of you, and you're not going to like it.
We will.
So I've been on my blog. I did this, suggestions for name that book for the next book. And it had to have the word grave in it. And I was telling Ilona about it, and she's like, what about deeper in the grave? And I said, I mean, that's not the whole party. And she says, well, it does have chapter 32, so it's also really accurate. And then she just cackled.
Well, now you have to explain for the folks at home, chapter 32.
No, I am not.
Yeah,
They-
you
they'll
mentioned
find
it,
out on
now
their
you have to do it. Who's embarrassed now there?
Okay, yeah, no, you two, do something, introduce yourselves. Come on.
We sing, we dance, we steal things.
Yeah, we steal things. We'll be here till Tuesday.
Yeah, well, like you, I mean, I think you actually got published before us, Jay.
No, you two were first.
No.
For like 6
I
months.
swear.
You
I
came out in
swear.
March.
Wait. Well, when was the halfway to the grave?
Didn't you come out in like spring of 2007? It was before me.
March. It was March 27th,
See?
2007.
Oh, but you got your deal, I think, before we got our deal.
No, that's not right either. Because we never looked at them like for a year.
So we're basically better than her in every way.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
No,
But she got paid like
oh yeah,
literally
yeah,
10
that's right.
times more.
Your dance
You
was
got paid
huge.
10 times more.
No, not 10 times
Yes,
more.
like
No,
10 times. I was like,
That's what
goals.
Okay,
I knew
no.
it was something.
Okay, you guys, all right, you're gonna go. No, I didn't get paid 10 times more. I got paid. Did you get a 2-book or a 1-book contract? I can't remember.
You had a 2-book contract. What
Yeah.
was it, like 50K per book?
No, it was 20. Oh my gosh, now we're talking money, everyone. Are you good? All right, here we are. No, it was 22 for 2 books total. Or no, it was 22. No, I'm sorry. It was 22 each book. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
lot, Jay.
Oh,
And you remember what we got paid? 5 per
okay,
book.
you know what? It was okay. You know why? Because you were published in fantasy and I was published in romance, and romance has a bigger readership, and you know that. So you look at her little grin. Look at her she loves getting me flustered. Oh my God, she's so evil.
You don't think the fact that your grandfather was a titan in the publishing industry?
My grandfather, no, he
think
wasn't
he
in,
was.
no, my grandfather wasn't in publishing. He was in, oh, I'm gonna beat the hell out of both of you. Oh my God, you're so lucky we're nowhere near each
What is
other.
that word?
No, he made hamburger
Yeah,
machines,
yeah.
not publishing. Oh my God.
No, honestly, there was no,
Henry, was it Simon or
no,
Schuster?
there was no nepotism.
No, there was no in. It was
Yeah.
cold query, just like you guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Cold and sad and
But-
gray.
But it's so fun. Oh, you want to hear a tidbit? All right, you all went there? Okay, we're gonna give you an Ilona and Gordon tidbit. So it's like 2008, maybe? Okay, because we met in early 2007, yeah, before your book came out. And
Oh, yeah, you guys met before that?
Yeah.
yeah, but
came
thanks
to
for a
Savannah.
day. You remember that?
You came to Savannah to pick her up to go to a convention.
Yes, we
You
yeah,
were in
we met.
Florida. That weekend is the weekend I ended up in the parking lot of the strip club with the girls and called her from the strip club parking lot. I got lost.
Okay, so this
Sure,
was one-
he did. That's
one
what I'm going, honey,
giant
I'm
bridge in
lost.
Savannah. There's
'Cause I
like
would-
this massive bridge.
I would take the
and
girls to a
somehow
strip club.
He crossed the bridge, and so he was like, I don't know where I am. And so he's trying to like pull over, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's calling me. He's like, I don't know where I am. And I'm like, well, I don't know where you are either. I'm like literally 4 states away, so he ended up like turning around in the parking lot of the strip club. Somehow they got out of there with like, what was it, like a 10 and an 8-year-old in the back of the car. It was an interesting adventure.
Yeah, well, I took him to the beach, and then on the way home, I went over the giant bridge, and we were in South Carolina.
Yeah,
It was
it
terrible.
did not go well. It did not go well, but that's okay. You survived.
Yeah, okay, so now I said the embarrassing part. What's your thing now?
No, oh yeah. Oh, okay. I digress. But so anyway, so Ilona and I we're both just newly published, and Ilona and Gordon, of course. When I say Ilona, I mean the two of them. I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's like, if I just had a book hit the New York Times, then I wouldn't be anxious about my career anymore. If it just happened just once. And I said, no, Ilona, you still will. And she said, no, you don't understand, because you had a book hit it. So if this just happens once, I won't
as
anxiety.
anxious as ever. We're literally more anxious than ever.
Oh
You know,
my
that's the thing,
God.
it's never enough.
No, it's never enough. And this business will make you goddamn neurotic.
Because
I'll tell you
I
that.
think though, it's only like, you're as good as your last book. What have you done for us lately?
Yeah, what have you done for us lately?
And it's like, are you resting on your laurels? You
Yes.
know,
And now there's like 50 million people emailing saying, this book, the next book, the book that you promised us you would write, the book that you didn't promise and didn't even mention, but I think I should write it anyway. And I will be mortally offended if you don't. Just so you know, your mind isn't living.
That was from me about Iron and Magic 2. I want it.
I know
Well, you and Sana both.
Sana wants it too. Sana's like,
Yeah.
Mother, when are we gonna get Iron Magic 2? So we're gonna deliver that. We're gonna get through this innkeeper, basically, space bachelor thing. But for those of you who don't know what the heck we are doing or who we are, on our website we are posting a free serial. It's being posted as written, so you're reading the first draft. It's free, obviously, and you get it like every Friday, right? You get like
ideally.
like a chapter or a scene or whatever. And this one is turning out to be a bit of a space bachelor. There's a space dude and he needs to like find some genetic material for his offspring. And so they have a whole contest thing going and you can vote on the different candidates. So right now it's kind of turned out to be more interactive than we anticipated.
But that's good.
But here's the hilarious thing, right? So there's all these different candidates and we spend so much time trying to flesh them out. And this, you know, awesome candidate and this awesome candidate, and most of them are human, right? And then one of the candidates is from like a alien kitty tribe, right? And so we had to put up the poll with all the candidates and we had to put up all the portraits. And so we're like, okay, well, alien kitty. So we went with a snow leopard, right? Let it be said that nothing was mentioned about the snow leopard personality or anything like that. It's just like, it's mentioned that there's a kitty candidate. Number 3 most beloved candidate, according to the poll, the kitty. Why? It's a kitty and it's cute.
Yeah,
Literally.
you should show them the picture.
All this authorial basically building up of
Yeah.
like, oh, amazing characters. Look at all the intrigue we put in there. One of them might be an assassin. And, you know, our readership is like, kitty! I was like, what? Oh,
Kitties are cute.
kitties are cute, but you know.
So yeah, we're writing our thing. Your thing is out, yeah, and did really well.
What is next?
Are you satisfied to turn the
What,
question around?
what do you two have? You're doing Innkeeper now, free serial on your blog, which is excellent. And you have a release coming out. Is it 6 weeks now?
Why would you bring it up? Like, why?
Do we
You
have
know,
something
we're
coming
not-
out?
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do. We gotta start review the Kirkus.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, okay, right?
Well,
And I'm like, I started reviewing Kirkus, Gordon, the look, and he's like, Kirkus, what's that? Literally, he was read Kirkus after 15 years of basically working in the field. Like, what the
Because-
hell?
do you know why? Because it's not good to read your reviews. And Jay will back me up on that.
That's true.
But when
It
it's
makes
good,
you
the
crazy.
publisher usually sends it to you and says, yay, this person liked it. I mean, that's,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what that was. And
yeah. And then you get to put a quote on your website. So it's like, look, not just the two of us and my best friend liked it. You know, you get to say someone else liked it. And that's always fun.
it was
Yeah.
so funny. So the review was flattering, and so it said some nice things. It's like excellent conclusion, you know, really blah blah blah. So Erica, our mutual editor, reads it and she's like, what does she highlight? She highlights the single tiny line that says reminiscent of Avengers Assemble. And she's like, this is great. This is marketable. Avengers, it's just like Avengers Assemble. I'm like, there's literally nothing about
Well,
similar to
no,
Avengers.
no,
in
I
this book,
get
but
what you
yeah.
meant. I get.
Well, maybe you get it.
Title,
do.
give people the title.
Ruby Fever. Woo!
No,
See, I held up my book. You know, do you have an arc to hold up?
No, I don't
No.
have an arc.
No, I don't think so, Jay.
I can hold up the older one. Like, look, this is Emerald Blaze.
We
That
actually
has a
don't-
green cover.
We don't have an arc of it. No.
Oh, okay.
Nope, we don't have any arcs. I don't think. Do we?
No.
We saw an arc. We
We
talked
did?
with Nancy about business, and Nancy's our agent, and she's like, she showed me the arc of it through Zoom.
We don't
You
have
closed
it.
it so far
It's
away.
in
I
full
can look.
color.
Yeah, it was
No,
in full
no, we
color.
don't have it.
It's
for
very
sure.
colorful. They don't trust us with that because we'll just put it on all the white pirate websites.
Yeah.
We'll just
throw
upload
ourselves
it like,
out. Okay.
buy the book. Who's gonna do that for free?
We just want to be done with it. That's it.
Yeah, well,
It
I
was
mean,
difficult to write. It was a pain in the
But
ass.
here's the
It
thing,
went
we don't-
forever.
we don't have to do anything now.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything now. Oh, look, Mina's got us covered. Woo!
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Thank you, Mina.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's nice, but it
Yeah.
looks black and white.
Technology.
Because she probably got an e-arc, so it's probably
Yeah.
the digital was
Oh,
black and
Yeah,
white.
it's on my it's on my Kindles. Sorry.
Oh, it's very vibrant.
Keep going. I'm back out again.
Like
Oh, yeah.
when they were doing Little Big Fever cover, they were like, we're going to
Oh,
make
no.
it pink. It's going to be
Oh, yeah,
pink.
it was pink.
Like, okay, it's very, very pink.
It's got the pretty, like, almost like lightning looking wings, though. That looks cool.
Yeah, it does look
Yeah.
good. Yeah, no, he did a good job with the cover. It's just like, it was just a painful book to write. We kind of hated it. It was a pandemic book. We worked through all the pandemic. We're just happy to be. Oh,
Oh,
my
wow, there
goodness.
we go. That's amazing. Oh, wow, good for you.
Woo! Win. Thank you so much, Mina. We really
Oh, thank you,
appreciate it.
Rita. That's really pretty, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like, God, let this be over.
But the problem is now it's never going to be over because again, kid 2 is like, given that Catalina is more loosely based on
Kid
our
one.
older daughter, our kid 2 now wants her series, the Arabella series,
Yeah, I'd like,
because according to her, she's funny and she deserves her own
Yeah,
series.
and give the people what they
Yes.
want.
That was the
Well,
quote from.
That is a
Give the
fair
people what they
statement.
want.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
That is fair. I know you're, I don't, I see, this is when I'm torn between being their friend and being a reader. And it's like friend Jeaniene wants to say, you don't have to do it. I know it was hard. And reader Jeaniene says, give the people the book, the book, the book.
Yeah. Well, this book
Turn
is,
about is a fair play.
Yeah,
Lizzie.
this-
when are you gonna do the next one? The
I
first
told-
one-
oh,
the first
okay.
one was so good. When is the next one coming out?
yeah.
Oh, I have to say, I have to do a little funny, and it's a brag funny. So my apologies, because I'm going to brag for a minute. But yeah, Ilona and I, and Gordon, we've all been friends for a really long time, and we occasionally, do critique reads on each other's books. And so I had not gotten a chance to have her pre-read The Other Half of the Grave because of scheduling. And anyway, so she didn't read it until it was already too late to change anything. So I was really nervous. Because sometimes when she reads something, when it's time to change it, and I've told her, be blunt, I'll get a call that says this, Jeaniene, I am your friend. And because I am your friend, I am going to tell you that Gordon and I think you need to redo your entire beginning. Okay. It is,
I very
insert,
rarely say that.
huh? Oh, no,
Sometimes it's
okay, no,
happened.
it's fine. It's good. This is what I asked for in critiques. This is what you want. You've got too much telling, not enough showing, blah, blah. This is what you asked for. But yes, it's always started out with Jeaniene, I am your friend. And because of that, and then comes the pain. So anyway, so she reads this book, The Other Half of the Grave, after it's too late to change anything. And she calls me and says, Jeaniene, I need to cash in all my friend points before I say this. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck. This is bad. And I'm like, all right, what, yes, you were my friend no matter what, tell me what you think. And she's like, it's better than anything you've written in years. You need to do the second one. I said, you told me not to do the second one. You told me that I can't do this. I'm like, you told me that I should write something new because more readers. And you're like, shh, ignore what I said and do the second book. So I was so relieved.
No, we
yeah.
need to do the second one because you left it. Okay, for those of you who haven't read it, basically, the first and second book of the original series, they're almost like one single book split in
Yes,
half.
I agree.
You need to have
agree.
the two to get you happy.
Yes.
Well,
If you
because
just have the one,
there's-
there's not much happy in there. Because,
There's
Yes.
a breakup that, yes, at the
Yeah.
breakup at the end of the first book. So it's a bit of a cliffhanger. So to get resolution to that
Yes.
situation, you, ma'am, need to write that second part.
I am.
Yes.
I am writing the second one through his point of view. I'm probably going to
We
stop
don't-
there, but it will be the second one. Yes.
Because we don't
Give
really
the
know
people
what he was
they
doing.
want.
Yes,
Give
give
the
the
people what
Exactly.
they want.
Oh my God, look at her. Give the people what they want. Arabella, Arabella, Ireland.
No. I can
Oh.
go for you get Arabella. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Now you know how the phone calls go,
Yeah,
except, you
yeah.
know, we curse more.
Yes, that's where we're both keeping it pretty clean. Pat
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
back.
we are.
Yeah, pat.
Yes.
We're being super good.
Yes.
We have not, you know, we have not done the thing where it's like, did you see what that bitch did? You know,
Oh yeah. But
yeah.
note to all writers everywhere. You call your friend and say, did you see what that bitch did or said? You never say that online in public.
Nope,
Yeah.
nope, that's what friends are for.
Yep.
Literally, that's what friends are for. Because then you call them and you know, you're talked off the cliff gently, and then, you know, you're like, oh.
No, I find myself saying, like, she'll say, is this okay to send? And I'm like, call Jay. Maybe show that to Jeaniene. Like, and if Jeaniene thinks it's too much, like, it's too much.
Well, most of the time, I would say most of the time I'm very fairly polite and professional in
That's true.
my emails, but
Well, no,
occasionally, you know, it gets, you know, something really gets my goat, and, you know, I'll write out something like, this would make sense if I didn't have an eyes or a brain. Could you help me understand why you're attempting to torpedo my publicity into nothing? Is this something that you have done before? Can you show me evidence of this being done before, and has it worked? Because so far, I have not seen this working in any way. No, I'm doing it. And so at that point, my husband was like, you should call Jeaniene.
yeah.
But yeah, no, normally we're polite. You know, the polite will, we're gonna be like, how many times can I say the same thing the same way? God damn it, just do it. And then in the email will be like, to circle back to the thing we mentioned
Yes.
earlier, perhaps we could do this with some kind of expediency. Thank you. You know, and
But
you're laughing, you wrote those emails.
But that's what I
Joe.
think friends are for. Like, if you're not sure about something, you know, or you want to say something bad about someone, well, we're here for that. Like,
There's
either
been a
way.
few times where I've written a blog, like written a blog post, and before I hit publish, I've sent it to you and been like, is this going too far? And it's like every time I thought, is this going too far? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but
You
you
know,
you
but
know
you know.
it is. Yeah,
You know,
you
when
just
yourself, when you wrote something.
you need
it's
someone
way
else
too
to be
far.
like, yeah.
If you're asking that question, you're probably right.
Yes.
Or if you're really mad, you don't care, and you're gonna do it
Anyway.
Yeah, you've learned. Yeah, every once in a while you learn that the hard way though, and then you learn to ask your friends and get another opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you say things and it's like, well, you know, 3 days later, you're like, was it really worth basically migraine headache that this produced? Probably
Or
not.
sitting on a thread for 3 days because you have to explain what you meant, because when you were angry typing, you probably weren't as clear and succinct as you could be. And it's just like 9 times out of 10, it ain't worth it. But someone said it's therapeutic to write it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
she's
therapeutic
right.
to write it.
Yeah.
It
Just don't
is.
publish it.
But it's not, yeah, it's not good to
Because it's
send
kind
it.
of that venting it. If you see it, you're like, I could say this, but I'm gonna be the bigger person.
And
No.
sometimes you say things in the emails that are like, that just don't land right. Like, for example, you know, we were talking about recent projects with our agent through a long email chain. And, you know, I typed in the things like, we need to get on this before somebody else does it, right? And she took it as in, I need to shop this right now.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And so, you know, misunderstandings like this will happen a lot of times in the publishing department. And sometimes, you know, they're benign and sometimes they're kind of difficult. Like, I can remember a specific case where I complained about the copy editor. So copy editor is a person that goes through the manuscript and makes sure that everybody's hair color matches, everybody's eye color matches, that, you know,
Consistency.
some weird state is not named, you know, magically renamed, that everybody's names are following and so on. And they also correct like egregious, you know, grammatical mistakes and things like that, you know. And so we need, because there's two of us, we need a very thorough, very hard copy edit, like super picky copy edit, because what happens is by the time we are done, the two of us edited manuscript, our editor edited manuscript, you know, we edited the manuscript
Jay
again.
may have edited the
Jay edited the manuscript. So
Yeah.
at this point, it's this Frankenstein of a manuscript with everybody's edits, hopefully implemented correctly. And we really, really need a rigorous scrubbing. So one time I complained about the copy editor and I said, look, this is not enough. You know, she is, you know, we'll prefer somebody else. This edit was very light. This person clearly didn't Google. She doesn't know salt comes in bags. That was an actual thing. I'm still sore about that. Like, look it up. Salt is sold in bags. You know, so basically.
Well, you got your pool salts, you got your water softener salts, you got your regular salts.
So basically, the next the copy editor comes in, and the copy edit is even lighter. And I'm like, what happened? And they're like, well, you didn't like the previous one. Now we got somebody who's a little bit gentler. I'm like, no, the other way, you know. So you get into the situation with email where, you know, stuff just doesn't land correctly. Long rambling story. Take the mic.
Yeah.
Save me from myself.
Take the mic. Okay, well, do we want to do any of the questions, like the preset or some of the ones in the Q&A?
Sure, we should.
Yeah, should we do some
Is everybody cool with us starting some questions?
I don't know. They're really enjoying this.
Woo.
As am I. I was like, this is the easiest program I've ever done. But I will ask a few questions and then we can go back to just chatting. The biggest one people have is, are you ever going to, the three of you, write a book together, or will that ruin your friendship?
Oh, I'll take that one. Yes, it would. And here's why. Because they are super productive, super disciplined. Okay, they are every editor's friggin' dream, and I am not. So I frequently, you know, I'll try and get something done by, let's say, April, and it'll be May. So I would never do that to them, to try and write something, because they would be on time and they would, and then I wouldn't be, and then it would crash and burn the friendship in no time. So that's why that's never happened.
Our word count for last week, it was like 3,500 words. So I don't know who this they you're talking about there.
Oh my gosh, you've had a lot going on. You're not, I said they're super productive. I didn't say you're robots.
No, I think it could work. Like, if you did your bit, like, obviously the three of us writing would be different than just me and her writing, because we're physically, like, you would do your part and we would do our part, and I guess we would sew them together, as opposed to like the way we do it. I don't know if people would be like,
you know how you were talking about Frankenstein?
We've been in an anthology together, no?
Huh?
I know we've been in anthologies together.
Yeah, but that was like, you had your story, we had our story, you know, and we just put them in the same package.
We should do something fun together once in a while, you know, like a novella or something that won't murder us.
We could do maybe like a short story, maybe.
Yeah.
Something that would be little. The only thing we did together is when we had Curran and Bones trash talk each other on a blog. That was fun.
It was super popular. People loved it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like a little crossover. I've seen that in the chat. People are like, yes, the crossover, yay!
You know, we used to have a little bit more fun because the blog scene was a little bit more vibrant. There were a lot of blogs that did paranormal reviews and urban fantasy and all this stuff. And because of that, you know, people were more playful, their stuff, and we all knew each other, all the authors. We kind of saw each other at conventions. It kind of dropped off because a lot of people have moved out of the genre. A lot of blogs are now defunct, you know, they don't do reviews anymore. Or if they do reviews, they are very like kind of by the book and less, you know, playful, because people would do crazy stuff. Like at one point, I think Isn't that like pasted pasties on one of
Oh
the,
yeah. My
Yeah.
book cover, the model was shirtless and she wanted to upgrade my website page. And I'm like,
I
no,
remember
because they had a pet die and they were grieving. I'm like, no. And she's like, yes. And I said, no, you're grieving. And then you know what she did? She put tassel pasties on my male model's nipples and put it online, which was hilarious.
And
But
I
still.
also feel like she plastered up a bit.
yeah,
Really,
they
because
were
pasties
black silk pasties,
And then for Christmas, she put jingle bells on his nipples.
Yes, I did that too. That was funny. Well, yeah, that particular model was like very, I don't know if it was really cold in the studio or what was going on, but like you looked at the cover, it was like nipple. Like it jumped out at you. I was like, okay, dude, like be careful, you're gonna poke somebody's eye out. But yeah, he needed some pasties. They would keep him warm. Oh, God. Oh no, I can't believe I said that. Oh.
And then yes, and to get you back, I put a possum head on I think the last cover of Kate's book.
Yes, it was very cute.
Yeah.
And
wait,
you know I
wait,
don't
wait.
do Photoshop. That was a labor of love. Oh my God, that took me
Yeah,
forever.
wait, American possum or Australian possum?
It was
No, no,
Australian.
American.
Oh.
American possum.
The ones that hiss at you, yeah.
Like, kind.
That was a
He
little
loves them.
Australian
I know.
possum. I think he was so cute. Yes, or he was whatever. But yes, ha.
No, that was good.
And that's because of a long debate that we have where I think possums are cute and they are incorrect and think they're not. So that's how that came about.
No. They scare me though. You have to understand, because my first knowing about possums was my grandmother's cats that were tore up.
Oh,
And I asked her why, and she said that they got in a fight.
that would have been
With the
raccoons,
possums.
not possums.
That could have been raccoons.
Yeah.
Yes, because raccoons,
Raccoons are more like.
now that we have the raccoons, they're a rowdy bunch. Like they're troublemakers. Where the raccoons or the possums seem very nice.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
possums just kind of sit there and are
But
like.
they do have a mouthful of needle teeth. Like when they're close and hiss at you.
You know, I went out the other day, right? And we have the main door and then there's like a storm door next to it. Like it looks like castle doors. I don't know what siege the previous owners thought they were going to protect.
My doors
themselves
kick
from.
ass,
Like,
dude.
yes, your doors kick ass, like honey, it's awesome. The door is a spectacular achievement of human engineering and carpentry.
It is.
But anyway, I walked
Have
out.
any Saxons come to the house? And the answer is no.
So I came out and, because I heard a noise, I heard like, some rustling. So I come out this evening, I turn around, I don't see anything. The outdoor, basically, the two outdoor feral cats are not there. I turn and in the space between and it's literally about yay big space, between the storm door and the thing, there's a little possum and the possum looks at me and I look at him and the possum is so cute. And he's standing very still. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go inside and get my phone and take a picture for Jeaniene.
Yes.
So I step inside, I grab my phone, I come out, gone.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But didn't just sort of looked at me like kind of
No,
like.
they all get
cutely.
along usually, and then the raccoons
Then the
come.
raccoons come and it's
They
like.
chase everybody off and they start trouble. They fight with each other.
And then there's this mama raccoon that we have, right? And what she will do is she will get tired of her babies and she'll crawl up on the tree and they can't follow her because.
Can you blame her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just sits there and chills.
No,
And I'm
one
like,
time-
I feel you.
One time, one of them waved at me and Cat.
Yeah, it was.
So they
the
come and get the
craziest
cat
thing.
food,
Oh my
walking
God.
away on the his back legs, and like, hey.
Yeah,
and
I
they-
kept like going, "Hey," and the raccoon goes, huh? And we were like,
And
ah, and we ran inside. So,
Yeah. Oh, we had an armadillo the other day.
yeah.
Did she tell you?
Yes.
He took a gun. He took a gun because there was a noise by a trash can.
Well, I mean, you do have a large property and it is dark and it's not like he's trigger happy and he's just going to
It wasn't
start
even
Yosemite
armadillo.
snapping it.
Okay, it
It
made
was
a lot
not
of
armadillo
noise.
was this big. It was tiny.
It made a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But he wasn't going to shoot it.
Yes, I didn't shoot it, but if it had been a person or a
So
bobcat,
you wouldn't shoot a person either, love.
yeah, oh yeah. I'd shoot a person.
Okay, don't. We're gonna edit that
Well, he
out.
only means if someone would be threatening. He doesn't mean he'd just randomly shoot people.
Yeah, like if they were coming to get into the garage or the house.
They would look at you and they'll decide not to go.
No, I'd shoot
Yeah.
them.
That's
This is
right.
Texas. We can do whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
No, we
God.
can. This is Texas.
I'm sure you oh well, yes. But
All I have to do
thankfully
is-
it was just a little armadillo. And people
Yeah.
are like, oh my gosh, we had no idea we'd be talking about critters. Yes, these are how these conversations go.
Yeah, for the people at home though, you don't want to touch armadillos. They give you that thing, leprosy. You can contract leprosy from armadillos.
They're
Don't
not
touch them.
furry, so I probably wouldn't try and pick them up or do anything with them because yeah.
Somebody in the chat says you guys need the podcast reviewing books. You have no idea. We hate all the books. We hate them all.
You-
Like it would be a podcast where like we would do a podcast and after a couple of weeks other authors would like form a posse and come to our house to set stuff on fire. No, we don't need to be reviewing books. We're writing books. That's plenty.
Yeah, that's.
It's okay. Gordon would shoot them.
Yeah.
No, he would not shoot them. He is very responsible.
Yeah, I didn't shoot the armadillo. Well, I gave the boy a gun too.
Yes, that was
Our future ex-son-in-law had a gun. I gave him the bigger
I
gun.
think he moved from ex-son-in-law into just future son-in-law.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't shoot that snake.
You
either.
know, and he will see this, and he will be.
He won't
His
see
feelings
this.
will be hurted.
That's fine. He needs to toughen up. That boy is soft. Even.
Oh, okay. For the
Okay,
sake
you
of the
need to stop.
That boy
You
is soft.
need to stop. Okay.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Okay, so I'm gonna, they're muted. Okay, so we're gonna talk
You're right.
about, I just wanted to ask you about point of view, because we're getting a lot of questions about that, like writing. What made you both decide to write in first person? And is that why, Jeaniene, you decided to do Bones's book, because it was all in first person and people were asking? And Ilona and Gordon, do you get that question? Like, are you going to write this from other perspectives? I'm thinking the Hidden Legacy series, but, do you ever get that question? So Jeaniene, I'm going to start with you since
Yeah.
I just read.
Okay. Well, I normally write in first person, and I normally write from my heroine's perspective. Probably 90% of the time, that's what I write in. So when I was doing Bones' side of that story, obviously it was in just his perspective, and I did third person. It wasn't a conscious decision to switch from first to third. It's just how I kind of heard him. And when I say heard, no one call 911. I don't hear audible voices or anything dangerous like that. But just, where you mentally run through the dialogue in your mind, is a way I could put it. And you mentally craft the scene in your mind. For some reason, with Bones's book, it was he said instead of I said, and it's just how it felt right for that particular story. So that's why I went with that. It wasn't a conscious decision to be different from my normal first person perspective. But normally it just feels right from the females to have that first person, I versus she setting, because it also it makes it a little more like life, I think, because in life you don't have the omnipotent narrator saying, Sheila was about to open that door and she didn't know the danger on the other side. You open a door and you have no idea what's on the other side. So that's why I normally write in that perspective, because it is the same way we experience life, where you don't know the motivations of the people around you. You don't get a peek in their head. You have to guess. You have to use your instincts. And that's pretty much how most of my characters do. So even with Bones's book, when it was written in third person, it wasn't omnipotent narrator. It was third person, where he did not know everyone else's thoughts, and it was only his point of view. So you didn't get a peek inside the other characters' heads. So it was his story as he experienced it.
Mm-hmm. And Ilona and Gordon, do you get that question? Or are you ever gonna because you do both? How do you make that choice?
A lot of it depends on the genre. I agree with Jeaniene that yes, it's the the way a character experiences life through the first person. And a tight third is also really good. The thing is, when we originally did our first series, we're coming into it with an idea of a bit of a like urban fantasy PI. Most of the PI novels are typically written in the first person. And it's just, you know, we read a lot of the PI novels at that point. Robert Parker, we read a lot of that. You know, so it was kind of a natural choice, and it worked out because the thing about our first character is that Kate is very mouthy. And then as she's basically going through the series, she kind of learns to not say the first thing that pops into her head because, you know, it usually has disastrous consequences. But being in that first person allowed us to still have that inner monologue.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, because for me, it's Kate telling her story. And that's that thing where your main character is also your narrator. You know,
Yeah.
and they're saying, they're relaying these things that happened. And that was more the case with, let's say, like the Kate Daniels series of Kate, because even at that point, we didn't realize that other people would be essential to the story as she was.
Yeah.
You know, like Curran or you know, Andrea. There wasn't any Curran or really Andrea yet.
At
So
that
it was
point, yeah.
her just telling how she saw that world.
The mystery in general just works better in the first person.
Yeah. Like,
but if you have multiple viewpoints, like we had basically in Hugh's books, or we had, you know, there's sometimes
the Edge series would sometimes
the Edge series
switch
too.
back and forth.
When you have like the two switching POVs, it's probably better to do a tighter third because it's very jarring to have both narrators in the first person in one book. It's hard for people to switch. Yeah, I think I have blabbered on and said something reasonably coherent.
Yeah, I think it really just depends. Like detective, like for instance, like the third person I think I like is the Hawk and Fisher books because they're two main characters. So it's almost an observer relating their dialogue and what they're doing. But it's not necessarily third person omniscient like Jay said.
Yeah, another interesting thing is that we're working on a project now where the main character starts out as a child in the first chapter. It would be very difficult to do a first person because you want to show the vulnerability of the child, but the thought processes there, like for example, she's so little, she doesn't know what rant means, you know. She read it in the book, and when she sees her teacher being very upset and waving his arm, she's like, oh, this is ranting, I've read about this. Getting it into the first person from the point of view of the child probably would not work.
Yeah, the only way to do that would be the first person, but the older person looking back at their
but then you
older
go into
version
the
of
flashback.
the older version of you talking about.
Yeah. The problem with flashbacks is that you're relating things that have already happened. So they're foregone conclusion. It kills tension flat. So, you know, it's advisable to kind of avoid flashbacks if you can do it. Yeah. Okay, good. Next question.
So in terms of point of view, you know, obviously, Jeaniene, you started writing Kat's point of view, and Ilona and Gordon, I think you have also from the female perspective a lot of the times. So when you switch over to the male perspective, Jeaniene, was that difficult for you? And Ilona and Gordon, is that something that like maybe Gordon does more than Ilona? I mean, how does that work for you? And I'll start with Jeaniene since you were.
I've written in the male point of view before. I've done dual POV in 2 of my standalones, and I think a couple of the novellas. But this was the first time I had done an entire book in just the male POV, and I was a little intimidated at first, but I could really hear, and again, here not audible, you know, but I could really hear bones in my head. So that made it a lot less difficult than I thought it would be, quite frankly. And you know, I had a really good sense of where he was coming from through his perspective on the story, and it really wasn't bad. I mean, some quite honestly, some of the scenes might have made me blush a little bit thinking about them through his eyes, because the man has he has none of the, you know, none of the morality I might have, let's just say. So, you know, you're writing things as you would think he would authentically say them and or think them. And so you kind of have to set your sense of limits, you know, per se aside and try and be authentic to that character. So those parts were maybe a little more challenging to write, because I might have wanted to censor myself a little more than would have been accurate for the text. But aside from that, it had a really nice flow to it. Now, I sincerely hope that it came across well. You know, I say this, oh, it wasn't that hard, with confidence, and readers were probably like, huh, yeah, you know, else it wasn't that good. But hopefully readers felt like they were in his head and not just in my version of his head.
I actually, I'm looking at the chat too. I completely think you nailed it, because he was, I mean, he had been through a lot as a human, right? And so like he wouldn't have the restrictions maybe in his head that we do. But I thought it was great. Ilona, Gordon, do you have a perspective on who writes what?
I mostly write female characters. Gordon mostly writes male characters, male dialogue. We tend to write the you know, the descriptive parts together. I'm gonna probably say something somewhat controversial here, but our audience is primarily female. You know, to be honest with you, a really, really authentic male point of view probably would not go over as well, because, you know, we've had scenes where we were more, you know, more blatant with the male POV, and we did not receive positive feedback. It's like, well, he's an asshole. He thinks about sex. He's this, he's this. I'm like, welcome to the male mind. But, you know, I am very, very fortunate because I have Gordon, so I'm not in as much danger of writing a girl with a penis. But yeah, it's I don't know that it's necessarily as challenging. It's just sometimes you get a character and sometimes you just don't. Like we did the Final Edge book where there was this guy he was a very noble, very kind of tragic character, right, Richard? And he was just one of those really reserved characters where a lot was happening, but it was happening in his head, and trying to like put it out on paper just was painful. I remember sitting there and like, what the hell is he thinking? Maybe he's not thinking anything. It's that thing is like, what are you thinking? Nothing. You know,
No, here's the thing. When we say that, literally that means nothing.
yeah.
Like we're not thinking of anything at all. Nothing worth mentioning. But I do mainly do the current POVs, and then she will check them over.
He's primary on kind of the few voice, few parts, you know.
So we do break down into that, like I guess a division of labor, as far as that goes. Which is, and sometimes if I were to just say what guys sometimes say in private, like with no women around, like, because picture being on a ship like for 6 months with just guys. Oh, Jesus, it's terrible after a while. It's horrific. With just like no adult supervision, or it's awful. People wouldn't believe if I told them some of the shit I've seen. So we have to tone it down for
it is fiction. It is fiction, you know. So there's a limit to how authentic it can get, just as well. Okay, so here's a good example of that kind of is out of the left field.
I have literally no idea what you're going to do now.
Okay, well, there's this wonderful Korean drama where a modern day chef gets transported into the body of a queen from a Korean feudal era. And so he, they're very, very reserved. Like everything is very like,
Mr. Queen, is that?
yeah,
right?
Mr. Quinn,
Yeah.
that's the one. You probably know the scene I'll be referring to. And so basically, everything is super reserved. Everything is very like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't say that. And so he, in the body of the queen, goes over to visit the king's grandmother and the king's basically designated mother. It's complicated, but go with me. And so, and they're there, and it's only women. And so the basically queen, the queen mother and the king's grandmother, they begin to really pressure our gentleman in the female body to have children. He needs to produce an heir because obviously they think he is a woman. He needs to produce an heir. And so at some point, the designated mother, and the way it's filmed is beautifully because they blocked the sound out and they just put a pretty song there. Started with, here's how you get the boy. And it's literally this. And this is happening with like a song. And his eyes are like the actresses, his eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And he's like, okay, I think I got it. Like it got him to be too much. And that's true. When women are by ourselves, we say stuff sometimes and we have very frank discussions that will make a typical male's hair stand on end, So
Yeah, do you remember that part of the letter, Kitty, where the two hockey guys become coaches for the women's hockey team? And the two girls start basically in Marianne and then at one point the boys are like, okay, we're out.
We're out.
They started insulting each other. I love
Yeah,
that.
so we have to, if female point of view, male point of view, we still have to make sure that it will be appealing to the blended audience. Some of us don't basically identify as male or female. Some people are, asexual. We have to account for all those possibilities and sort of try to hit as wide of an audience as we can. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There you
So one question that a lot of people asked is, Jeaniene, which innkeeper candidate did you vote for?
I did not. I abstained because like I said, there's times when I have to befriend Jeaniene and not reader Jeaniene. So yeah, I try not to use my friend power for evil.
Well, and you'll probably know who's going to win anyway before it even gets published.
yeah, because
You'll know.
She
So,
will know
yeah,
because
you have-
she'll lead up to that point. She's like, this is what you're aiming.
Oh,
Movies with us is horrible, the three of us, because we're like, yep, she is. It's her cousin. That's what did it. Yep. We're like 5 minutes into the movie, and everybody else is like, eh.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, though, I called you writing about Hugh before you admitted you were going to write about Hugh. You remember that?
Yeah. So
Wait.
we did the April Fool's joke.
After
with,
we did the April Fool's thing?
Yeah, and I was venting to Jeaniene. I was like, because here's what happened. For April Fool's, we took the villain from our main series and we did like a spoofy romance cover with him on it and said, oh, this is our next book. And people started they took it very seriously despite us explaining it was a joke, and they started requesting it at libraries. And so I called Jeaniene and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, he is a villain. And she's like, let me see if I can do Jeaniene Frost. He is handsome and he is powerful and he's all these things. If it walks like a romance hero and it walks like a romance hero, it must be a romance hero, isn't it? I was like, oh, I cannot believe it. She was right. She was right.
Tortured, complicated past and a reason why he was so villainous that readers didn't know yet. And it's like, yes, he was so, come on. I know you're with me, people.
No, and that's the thing. Somebody very smart said Americans love a redemption story.
Yes, Americans do love a redemption story.
We love underdogs and people triumphing against the odds and redeeming themselves. We love that stuff.
Well, he fits all the boxes of like childhood trauma, abusive upbringing, bad father, really, 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 really bad father figure.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, he kind of mashed all the things. It was a good book. I enjoyed writing it. It's just like
Yeah,
pandemic happened.
But we
and-
need to do the second one after we do.
yeah, you know, it kind of starts with like this really scary child abuse thing, and it's like,
Yay.
we got squeaked out. I think we stalled. Mina, help us.
Yeah. Held off.
Stop. I have to take myself off camera because I start laughing so hard that I, I can't ask the questions. So anyways, House Andrews, are you looking forward to being self-published solely? And Jeaniene, have you thought about being self-published? I'm not sure about that question.
That's okay. Who wants to go first?
Jeaniene is self-published. Her latest
Yeah.
book is self-published. It is
Yeah,
a
I thought so.
bestseller. It is a USA Today bestseller and
Yes.
a Wall Street bestseller. And I'm sure that it's another kind of bestseller, but she told me to stop looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, we enjoy being solely self-published. It would be a nice break from the deadlines, and that's why we took a step of removing kind of our calendar to some extent from our website, because we don't want the pressure. So you know, you will know what we're working on when it's like ready for publication. We're gonna be like, book is out, drop.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a two-sided coin, or a double-edged sword, in the sense that we're out of contract. It's kind of scary, but we can self-publish now, kind of be on our own schedule, work on what we like. More
Yeah, do fun
importantly,
stuff. Do
you
more
know,
fun stuff.
like people were like, if we were to do an Arabella, you know, continuation of Hidden Legacy with Arabella, in all likelihood, there's a strong possibility it would be self-published.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, the previous trilogies in Hidden Legacy follow the romantic kind of, there's some guidelines that go with romantic genre, like put the hero on the page.
Yeah.
Make sure this is the
Okay, for
hero.
instance, with Nevada, you know it's Rogan, right? With Catalina,
You know what,
you know, it's
Alessandro.
Alessandro. We don't know with Arabella. We envision a scenario where Ella, she has an embarrassment of riches, or suitors, if you
Yeah,
will.
and it's
I know
not
who I
clear.
want.
What? Who do you
Who
want?
do you want?
Who do you want?
Say, because then readers will think that I have inside information and I'm telling something that you're not revealing yet. But
No, it's undecided, actually. At this point, it's undecided. So
Yeah, it's under.
I'll just say I want the guy she fights with at the end.
the bear.
Oh, the bear guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Where they
yeah,
have the
yeah,
in-creature
yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
I think it would be very.
No,
fun.
not Sergeant Teddy.
No,
She's
not
not-
No,
Sergeant.
not Sergeant.
Oh my God, no,
God,
no,
we're not-
Sergeant Teddy is
No,
an
no, no,
actual
an
bear.
actual
He
bear.
does not transform
This
into
is a
bear.
human who
He's like-
turns into a bear.
Okay, don't spoil too much.
Yes, no spoilers, no
Oh,
spoilers.
it's not come out yet. That's
Yes.
right. Oh, that's right. Oh, never mind. So wait,
I tried. Wait, was it? Did I spoil her? And I just said who she
No.
fights with.
No,
I
no,
didn't
it's
say who.
okay. We don't know what happens. It's okay. Let's stop there. Oh my
Okay.
God.
so wait, they don't know about.
No.
No, stop,
No.
Gordon. They're already like Gordon strikes again.
Huh. Well, I could spoil everything.
Please don't spoil everything. No, like,
Oh,
it
oh.
wouldn't be fun for them to read. If you
Oh,
spoil
that's
everything.
true. That's true.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Sorry. I saw Sergeant Teddy on there, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, no! It's not bestiality. That's horrific. No, Christ, jeez."
Okay.
So,
Sorry, that's my bad. I set that up. My bad.
You know, it's very weird what comes up in okay, you're kind of getting an inside view of the publishing thing. So it's like stuff gets batted about, like, yes, no bestiality, please, you know, not something
Yeah,
you
we
hear in a
can't do
typical
that.
conversation. We had one really funny one, right? So with Fated Blades. So the Fated Blades is a story about like these augmented, you know, families that exist on this planet, right? And basically, one of the hero of the story, his mother actually also augmented, but she came from off planet. We didn't quite make it clear. So one of the readers made this jump because it said like there's only two families. He's like, okay,
Inferred, if you will.
inferred. It was inferred that there was incest in there somewhere.
Yeah, we had.
So here we are. Here's our poor editor that opens her email and it says, urgent correction, surprise incest in the subject line. So what follows is basically an email chain involving like the editor, the agent, the production editor, with like, to avoid the appearance of incest, to reduce the incest possibility, we should add, because at that point we had basically the book was almost cast, so it was very hard to make changes. So minute, tiny little changes had to be made to kind of like, where could we insert the line about his mother being off planet so we don't have the surprise incest basically inferring happening.
Surprise incest.
So yeah, like stuff that comes up you can't make up. Okay, if you go,
he'll be fine.
he will not be fine.
He will be fine. I'll show everybody Jerry.
Oh, is it the birdie?
Step up, Gerald.
No,
Oh,
Gerald
wow.
is not down.
Gerald.
Gerald is not down with you stepping up
He
thing.
is stepping up.
Sorry, we're being
Oh,
deceiving. This is
baby
our
bird.
grand cockatiel.
Yeah,
We don't get grandchildren, we just get grandpets.
it's Mungo Jerry.
Yeah.
He sings. He's a good dude. Hi, are you cool now?
Oh, it's so
Okay, there we
cute.
go.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, we've been having him covered with a blanket and he just.
But he really likes when we're down here. And that's the reason we're so productive, Jay, is we gotta come down here and hang out with Jerry.
Yeah, because.
Otherwise, he gets really weird.
Yeah, he gets really, really
I
weird.
know, hi, here I am. I know where you are. I see you. I know.
Well,
I
there
see
we,
you.
and that's what's gonna
I
happen.
see you. You're cool.
This is why we had him covered.
No, I know where you are. You're fine. Yeah. there you go. Step up. Step up. Why you gotta be like that, dude?
Everybody's very happy with both spoilers and Jerry.
Oh, I've got the spoilers. If I'm
No,
allowed to give
no,
spoilers.
you're not. I'm gonna mute you right up. Next question. Next question.
Marcia just threatened Jerry with her cat. Sorry.
Oh, our cats don't care.
Our cats don't
Our
care.
cats don't care. They
The
couldn't-
Yeah, they act like they don't
They
care.
don't
That's
care.
that's pretend.
No,
So,
Jerry-
okay, I have a question that was asked when we first decided to do this thing. Do you all read your own books like after they're published?
Oh, Lord.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because sometimes we have to look stuff up. We listen to audio sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
horrible because it's like every clunky sentence and phrase is magnified. It's just like, oh, please no.
We do because, like she said, in a long-running series like Kate, or even at this point, Hidden Legacy, which has, Christ, 6 books, 7, 6 and a
Something
half.
like that.
We have to sometimes check for the consistency, or if we haven't like written something that serious for a while, we might read the last book or like skim it to get kind of the feel of that.
Yeah, well, we buy our own books because we want to make sure to do some quality control. And Kindle app turns out a bit faster than trying to search for the manuscript on the computer because as Jeaniene can attest, by the time you're done, you have like final draft number 17, and you're not quite sure which draft went into production
Oh, geez.
and whether or not you fix stuff. So it's easier to just search through the Kindle app and be done.
Do you, Jeaniene? Do you read your books?
The way, like, first of all, like they mentioned, if you go back and you're trying to remember something, usually about a side character or a more minor detail of, what color eyes did this side character have? I don't remember, or, what happened with this. So I'll go back and read. But yeah, it was actually how I ended up rewriting the Bones point of view. Is I was rereading the beginning of Halfway to the Grave for some reason, I don't remember what, and just got struck with the idea to rewrite the first chapter from Bones's point of view, just for fun. And did that and posted it on my blog thinking, 10 people might get a kick out of this. And a bunch of people said, "Oh, write another chapter." So I did, and then there was a book. So yeah, but I'm with Ilona on, you reread some stuff and you're just like, oh my God, who wrote that shit with the sentences or something? Not the whole book, but like certain sentences, you're just like, that is wordsy. That's a mouth salad. It makes no sense. Why is it there? So it was actually kind of therapeutic to rewrite some of those things and fix them.
Well, you just explained how books are born. Thank you. We're enjoying that aspect too. But I have to ask if you are, like actors and stuff say they don't watch their movies and things like that because they can't stand to see any mistakes like that. So I'm curious that you do sometimes read your books. Whitney asked Ilona and Gordon, on a previous blog post, you said that you wanted to switch genres for a while. Are you thinking about changing it up?
What?
No, I muted him. I'm sorry,
Oh.
Jerry keeps singing. Here's the thing. We worked in the romance space for 6 years now, roughly, probably
Yeah.
more.
Urban fantasy, and then what, like paranormal romance?
Yeah, we get bored fairly easily. We have to basically change things up. And romance does have some of the genre conventions that are difficult to upend. Because when the romance reader goes into a romance book, they expect a certain thing. They expect clear defined hero and heroine, or two heroes or two heroines, whatever flavor basically the romance they're reading. They, prefer not to have really strong love triangles, because in a love triangle, inevitably 50% of the people will, kind of root for the guy number two, or girl number two, and then basically end up being disappointed when the book is over. So obviously there has to be a happy ending, although I think, we're in the business of commercial fiction, so all of our endings are typically happy. But because of that very clear definition of the hero and heroine and kind of somewhat expected setup, we are probably going to try to branch out a little bit. We would like to do some things where it's a little less obvious as to who the couple is, or if there is even going to be a couple,
For me, I would also say I'd like to do a bit more where, maybe it's more fantasy.
It's more fantasy,
and like Ilona alluded to, maybe no one ends up with anyone, or the main character may or may not end up with someone, and that's not kind of them getting together isn't the point of the story.
It's the point of the story, yeah. Because, and particularly we saw this with Ruby Fever, because we had a certain word count we had to hit. We could not go over it significantly. Because of that, we also had to tie up a whole bunch of different threads. So while there is romance in there, and while there is a committed relationship and angst related to the relationship and all those things, we also had to kind of devote significant amount of word space
to the relationship,
to not only to the relationship, but to basically everybody else's familial relationships, and kind of tying things up so the conclusion would be satisfying. Yeah. According to Kirkus, we managed to do it.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work. It's like going through and making sure all the ends are nicely
tied up. Yeah.
And it looks pretty, and it can't just be tied up, it has to be tied up prettily in a bow.
It would be refreshing to write something that's not a sequel to an existing franchise, right?
Yeah, that's not connected to anything
else.
Else.
Because we're just like, continuity gets to you after a while, and it's like, okay, like, what did we say where, and on page where, and how did it work out, and why is it preventing us from now doing this really cool thing that we want to be doing?
Yeah, like, and we have to be so careful because people know the books better than we do. Honestly, they really do. Like, I don't know.
People will come up and ask a question about Magic Burn, and I'm like, that is literally 2 million words ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't-
What does the book say? You know,
I don't really
um,
remember what happened in the end of Ruby Fever. I'm trying to think. No.
Oh,
God.
no,
Don't say it out loud.
No, he's messing with you. So he remembers perfectly well. But that's the thing, right? When we thought about this, we probably, like Gordon brought it up and he said, you know, a good philosophy for us going forward is one book for them, meaning one book for our fans, a sequel that they're expecting, one book for us, one book for our creativity and our basically ability to spread the wings a little bit, because that's what makes us good writers. We, you know, we try things. Sometimes they don't work, but it's still worth trying.
Hmm. Is that the same for you, Jeaniene? Would you branch out? Or are you going to keep going with Bones's perspective?
The next book I'm doing is the second book through Bones's perspective, because like Ilona and Gordon said earlier, that part of their story really almost was like one whole novel. It got split into two books. So that will be my next one. And then after that, I'm not 100% sure. I kind of let the characters pick who gets a book. And, you know, so it kind of depends on who is the loudest in my mind, telling me their story. So we'll see. I have some ideas, and I have some ideas that are completely unrelated to my vampire world. I don't know who will win yet in the little mental cage match in my mind.
I feel like Ilona and Gordon know something about this because they're like,
They do know, yeah. Ilona does know, yes.
Well, okay.
And Gordon knows too. And
We
yeah,
do,
because I was
it's an awesome idea. I think it will be great, whether or not, you know, Jeaniene chooses to develop it.
yeah, I was
I think I think you're in the same boat as we are, though. You're kind of obligated to do your part two of the Cat and Bones thing before you can do something different. You know what I mean?
I want to do it. That's the, you know, I mean, I think, you know, I want to do it, and readers after the first one were like, I hope you wrap it up, you know, after Bones finds her. So, you know, in that regard, so I do want to write that. But yeah, there is freedom in being able to choose what I do next after that, instead of, well, you're contractually required to write X, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice.
Absolutely.
so I have to, one of the questions that came up and I think is really interesting is about paranormal romance, vampires, and how you created vampires that are sexy when all through history, people thought, the legend was that vampires were monsters. So how did you turn that around in your head to write it as a romance?
I mean, I was hardly the first, but you know, the first one I saw where the vampire was sexy and got the girl, and this is going to show people how old I am, so no one under 30 is going to know who this is, but it was a movie called Love at First Bite. And it was a really old movie, and it was a comedy, and the vampire actually got the girl in the end, and I loved it. Even I was a child watching it, and I loved it because I had always rooted for the vampire in the movies, and then I was so disappointed when, you know, I was told, well, that's the villain, and I'm like, why? He's in love with the girl, and he's just got to eat. You know, I couldn't understand why I was supposed to root for Van Helsing. That guy seemed like an ass. But anyway, so seeing, you know, the love story play out and be successful, even as a child with that really old movie that if I watched now, I'd probably just laugh, was great. And that's how I wanted to do them. But my vampires aren't just sexy. They're like, in this regard, aside from all the supernatural powers aside, they are like people in that they have free will. And they have free will, and also they were people. So some are hot, some are, you know, not what you would traditionally consider sexy, some are in between. I mean, you know, just like people, and some are good, some are bad, some are morally gray, some are, you know, really horrible, some are really noble. It just depends on the person, and vampirism basically takes whatever your character is and amplifies it. And, you know, and then adds ability to that. But you still have to make choices. You can't just use an excuse of, oh, well, I'm a vampire now, so I'm bad. No, you're responsible for your own damn actions. So that's the angle I went with it. But Ilona and Gordon, and the vampire genre is so great because you can go from monstrous to the, to sexy but evil, and all the way to sparkling. And I don't say that as an insult, because it's such a flexible genre with so much room. So their vampires were very, very different. So everyone knows, but tell them about your vampires.
Well, let's see. I think we're done with twice. So vampires in Cape Daniels are kind of mindless. They're mindless. They're almost insect-like. And so with necromancers, pilot them around with their mind like remote cars. So it kind of is a freaky experience because, the vampire will be talking, but it's not the vampire talking. It's the navigator of the vampire that smiles.
Yeah, they're truly more undead. They don't really have agency. They don't have thought. Like they have urges like kill, eat, but that's it. Kind of.
And they're not even, they're almost zombie-like in that they will slaughter until there's nothing to slaughter. They don't have like presence of mind to say, okay, maybe I'm full. Maybe I should save something, snack for tomorrow. That does not happen. But the innkeeper vampires are a little bit different. So this is the other series. This is the Space Bachelor series. That whole series is predicated on the idea that the humanoid-like general ancestor had spread through the galaxy, occupied some planets, and they kind of developed in different ways. And vampires in particular are a predatory strain of humans, basically. They're very large. They have very much thicker skin, so they don't blush as easily. They tend to be very either pale or, darker gray, so they don't, they're very strong. They have fangs. Because they were predatory strain, they, killed with their fangs. And so they don't necessarily drink blood, but they do use fangs, to bite people occasionally.
Yeah, and in this sense, they're a race, not, they're born as what they are. They don't turn a person into a vampire.
Yeah, they're born as what they are.
But they can mate with a human and have a child that is a hybrid of a human and a vampire. But they don't necessarily, it's not like the very classic thing where vampires turn people into
more vampires,
into younger
and we
vampires.
have to play a little bit with conventions, well, why did people think they were dead? Well, if they crash landed on Earth, they tended to stay in stasis pods, which are very coffin-like, and then they were kind of invaded during their feudal era by an enemy. And there's a kind of law in the galaxy that whenever you would discover space flight and ability to spread through the galaxy, your social development stops to some extent. And so they're still knights. They're basically country, I guess, nation, should see several planets. Nation is called the Holy Anocracy. They're knights. They wear armor. They're religious. All this stuff. So when people were trying to kill them in those stasis pods when they crash landed on Earth, it would take an actual giant wooden stake to get through the armor.
Well, and that's the thing.
So
Traditionally, the stake in the heart doesn't kill a vampire. It keeps them in their coffin.
coffin. That's what
the stake
And
is
when,
supposed to do. It keeps you put.
Yeah,
in the coffin.
in Eastern Europe, when they mean a stake, they don't mean like a stake. They mean like a 2x2. So you can really
It's not
hammer it in there.
handheld. It's a large.
Yeah, it's a large piece of wood that they hammered so you don't rise. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So you took the sort of mythology of vampires and gave it explanations. It sounds like
science fiction explanations, and it makes sense. Like garlic doesn't work on them; they don't care, But coffee gets them drunk. So there's this wonderful scene of the werewolf gives the vampire coffee because he doesn't know he's an ignorant werewolf. And then the vampire knight, who up to this point was incredibly elegant and dignified and everything, says, "You are lovely. You're my best friend, and you are also lovely." And then he takes his clothes off and goes out running naked in the orchard. So we kind of got to have fun with stuff,
Yeah, and that's the thing, because it's a self-published series. There's a lot of freedom.
Yeah, there's a lot of
to
freedom.
do fun stuff that you want to do, really. So,
but at the same time, we don't have the benefit of the editor saying, "This is really lagging. Perhaps your hero should have a character arc."
yeah,
And we're like, "What is character
That's
arc?
true,
What
but
are you talking
honestly,
about?"
I'm gonna say, and this is gonna sound arrogant, but our first book was probably 2007, Jeaniene's first. At some point, I do feel like
Oh, don't say it. Don't say we know what we're doing.
We know what we're doing. Ain't nobody can tell us nothing.
Oh
Now,
my God,
in a
you
case
said
like
it.
that, we still do hire someone as an editor. But I do think at some point, I mean, I think you have an idea of what you want to, if nothing else, you have an idea of what you want to do.
Yeah, honestly, we write mostly to entertain ourselves, you know, and the self-publishing allows a very free expression of that because yes, you're like, can we do this? Why not? You know, but at the same time, like you
Yeah.
said, it's a double-edged sword.
We'd be fools not to.
Mhm.
But we
Yeah,
have to
what could
hire,
possibly go wrong?
yeah, what could go wrong?
That could go wrong.
Who
So
knows?
we just have time, I think, for one last question, and we have a ton of questions from people here, but I'm going to ask this one. Um, when you first started out, because it sounds like you've known each other almost from the beginning, what made you write paranormal though? Like Ilona, did you say to Gordon, I want us to write books and I want them to be romance and I want them to be paranormal? And Jeaniene, did you say like how did you decide this is the genre I want to write?
Where'd he go?
He went to get Charlie. Of course, he went to get Charlie.
Oh, okay. Oh, the doggy.
He's looking for Jerry. Charlie loves.
I was gonna say, is the birdie okay?
Huh?
Oh, it's Gary, not Jerry.
Jerry,
Oh, Jerry.
He's not gonna try and eat him, right?
If he
If
could,
he
he
could, he
would.
will. We have
He
to be
would.
vigilant. It's a very sturdy cage, very large. He's not gonna get at him.
Come on,
Yeah.
cowboy. Chip, chip.
Charlie,
Charlie, come sit with Daddy.
there we go.
Oh, you little sweetheart.
I made him
Oh, I'm
spin
sorry.
over
My
the-
apologies. I am unable to stop myself from baby voicing and talking to animals when I see them. It's just no matter where, no matter what.
Well, look at that face. How can you not?
I've almost forgotten the question.
Oh gosh.
What made you choose paranormal, particularly vampires? How did you go down that path?
For me, it was, I've always liked vampires ever since I was a child. And I actually had the idea for the first book from a dream. And in the dream, I saw a half vampire woman arguing with a full vampire man about why she'd left him years before. And in the dream, I knew that she loved him and hadn't wanted to leave him. And I also knew that he'd been looking for her the entire time and was absolutely determined to show her that they could work out. And that was pretty much it from the dream. And I woke up the next morning and I was just like kind of turning it over in my mind. And who are these people? And how did they, why would she leave him if she loved him so much? And why did he look for her? And basically just started writing it out, not even thinking I would finish the book, because at that point in my life, I'd never finished a book at all. I had started and stopped just countless stories and never finished anything. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to run with this idea in my head. And I'm just going to, basically answer the questions that I've been asking myself. Oh, geez. And that's how I started writing the story. And actually that scene that was the dream didn't even end up taking place in book 1. It ended up taking place in book 2. So no one was more surprised than me when I actually finished a book and then immediately started the second one.
What were you writing before then?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing. I was working a 60-hour-a-week job, and I'd always wanted to write a book, but again, just never stuck with an idea long enough to finish it. So it was just start something, write a couple chapters, stop. Start something, write a couple chapters, stop. And that was my entire writing experience up until getting the idea of Bones and Cat that eventually became Halfway to the Grave.
And what is it, 18 books later, you said? So
something like 20. I mean, like I said, I think 20
Oh,
novels, 21 if you count the outtakes collection, and then like 6 or 7 or 8 or I don't know how many novellas and short stories, something.
Mhm.
I could count them, but
all right.
who cares?
We just love them. And how about you, Ilona and Gordon? How did this happen for you?
Before we do that, hey, Jay, tell them the short story about crosses and vampires.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this happened. So the only reason why I believe my parents about this story is they told it to me ever since I was a child. So it wasn't something they just made up after I published. But yeah, so apparently, and I don't even remember this, but when I first went to Sunday school, so I don't even know what age that is, you know, and my mom, you would have to have known my mom just was tried to make us such proper little ladies. God rest her soul. Okay, that didn't work. Anyway, but she was very concerned about appearances, especially in church. So, you know, she's got us in our little tights and black patent leathers. You remember those hideous little things? Anyway, and dresses and all matching and but so yeah, we're in church and takes us up to meet the Reverend, and he turns to me and says, you know, do you know what that cross on the wall stands for? And I said, yes, it keeps the vampires away. And my mother just about died on the spot. And thankfully he had a good sense of humor and just laughed. But yes, she was just could not have been more appalled. So that's how long I've been into vampires.
You know, speaking of that, my first thing like that was Salem's Lot, the old 70s TV show.
Oh yeah.
Where, do you remember his dead friend comes to his window?
To his window.
That scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And he grabs the cross from he makes models and dioramas. And I thought, damn, like that was seared into my memory as probably a kid in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh no, that was creepy. I mean,
who
didn't hear something at your window and wonder if it was, you know, like one of your dead friends floating outside trying to get in, or that was just me.
No, like I always thought it was that.
Oh gosh. So do you want to do a quick origin story before we sign off?
For me personally, I think that my childhood was a little bit bleaker probably than most people's. You know, I was born in USSR. You know, it was very, flights of fancy were not encouraged. Science fiction had to be basically very, like any fiction was strictly censored, but science fiction allowed for a little bit more freedom. So I was kind of not really drawn to that. And then when the curtain fell and we were kind of flooded with like stuff from the West, I just naturally gravitated to like the golden age of sci-fi, like Lee Brackett, love Lee Brackett, you know, Conan novels, you know, the Harry Harrison, stuff like this. And so eventually when we, you know, when I ended up in US and you know, when I started kind of trying to write, to me, urban fantasy was almost like the blending of my two childhoods to some extent. We had a lot of Russian folklore. And then, so I had the Russian folklore on one side, and now the newfound sort of Western fantasy and science fiction on the other side. Urban fantasy and paranormal, in essence, is kind of our new folklore. It is basically because all those folkloric stories that we hear, they were contemporary to people who told them. So what's contemporary to us? Well, the cities are contemporary to us. Our modern basic society is contemporary. And it would seem like a natural evolution to introduce, you know, a magic element into it. Something, you know, something strange, something weird, something wicked, you know, walking down the street, turning down the wrong alley and seeing something perhaps you shouldn't, that's not explainable by science. It seemed like fun, and that's kind of how we ended up there.
Mm-hmm. So you were writing first, and then when you and Gordon got together, you started writing together?
No, I wasn't really writing
We
first.
started in college, actually. I got out of my first tour in the military. We were going to a small college in North Carolina, where I was kind of brought up by my aunt and uncle. So that the books I read, I was allowed to read were like, because my uncle was a former Marine and police officer, I could read. Violence was okay, but not magic. So the Robert Parker Spencer books, anything like that was fine. Magic wasn't allowed. But so a lot of that stuff was like when I graduated high school and joined the military. But like I came back, we were in the same English class, but that's the only class we had in common. But we started writing our papers together.
Yeah.
So I think we started
dating and then we ended up writing papers together. And
probably
we just,
94, 95.
Yeah. we figured out that we
Long time
kind of
ago.
could write the paper together and get a better grade.
We were better together writing paper, even if it was for her class or my class.
Yeah, then
Then we were
individually.
separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our superhero origin story.
Woo!
Was that-
Water twin powers activate.
I think we're more like
Shape of water.
the Venture Brothers.
The Venture Brothers.
Because we're idiots.
We are idiots, yeah.
But we love you anyways.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And for everybody who came and joined us and asked so many wonderful questions that we did not get to because we just enjoyed listening to you. You're obviously wonderful friends and wonderful writers. So I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yep. And remember, you all can buy signed books from Blue Willow Bookshop. I put the link in the chat and I will send it out later again today. So have a great day, everybody. And I will talk to you all. Ilona, I'll talk to you because we're going to be meeting with Grace Draven in July. So anybody who's here, look for that. And Jeaniene, I will be looking forward to your next book because I can't wait.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
This is wonderful. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good night.
Generally